Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about Rick Joyner. I spent the whole morning with Rick Joyner. Of course, not in person. I really wanted to sit under his ministry and just learn all about him and all his fantastic revelations he gets from God. Well, to begin with, I do want to let you know I'm not an expert on Rick Joyner. There's a lot that he teaches and believes in that I really am unfamiliar with at this point. What I'm going to do is focus mainly on the several hours that I spent with him watching one video that was about 15 minutes long, and then doing some research into some of his teachings pertaining to what I saw. All right, here's how it goes. What I noticed, some people use logic, some people use scientific evidence, some people use the Bible. He's not in any of those camps. Let me explain. As he's talking for 50 minutes with his friend, I hear a lot of the source, the substance of his teachings, the core of what he believes. And what I'm getting is a whitewashed, Christianized history of the United States. This seems to be the theme, and I've heard him speak on several occasions, trying to listen to him and see what he's got to say. And this he regurgitates, he goes back to over and over again. Somehow you have to take out those bad things about the United States. And of course, you attack the other side with general statements. Don't be specific. Don't give exactly what they say, because a lot of times the other side actually has a good point and can say something really good. Nevertheless, he has a very whitewashed, Christianized history. So all our founding fathers were these fantastic Christians. You're not dealing with deism. Deism was one of the most liberal teachings of that day. He likes general war illustrations to talk about our faith. He likes anti-communist diatribes. He has a lot of these, equating it to the Antichrist. And once again, very general. He said a couple of statements about communism. I tried to look up and see if Karl Marx really would have said that. I'm highly doubting some of the stuff that he's putting out there as coming from Karl Marx. Karl Marx did not like capitalism, but he did find it as a necessary stepping stone to something else, to those revolutions that would bring about a more just society. However, in what I heard him saying about Marx was, I just don't buy it. But you know what? Here's the story. Because I don't know, and I have to do this research, I don't have time to be able to dig into all of Marx's teachings to find out where he's getting this. And that is what puts me at a disadvantage. As long as he says, Karl Marx says this, Karl Marx may have. I don't think so, because it doesn't sound like Karl Marx, but at the same time it might be. And that's where they have you over the coals on a lot of these things. You can make up stuff and say so-and-so says this, and unless you really dig in and know for yourself, you're just going to think, well, okay, that's the way it is. Well, he's got me over the coals on this one. I still think that he's misquoting Marx or completely passing on something he's heard from somebody who heard from somebody who heard from, and it's gone through so much revision. By the time he's saying it, it's totally wacko. He's got a very negative look on world events. And I think this is important for Christians. Christians of all kinds can have very negative views about things or very positive views, kind of Pollyanna kind of views. And there's extremes. All right, there's a lot of bad things going on in our societies, especially with COVID. But you know what? There's still a lot of great things happening. We live in a fantastic day. There's never been a better day. But there's something in us that wants so much to find fault and find, oh, this problem, this, that we begin tearing apart the very good life that we really do have. But he's got a very negative look on society and world events. Of course, he's got that apocalyptic thinking I'm going to get into that in a second here. I didn't hear any Bible in their discussion. The guy interviewing him says one thing about his core, and that is my experience. And he talks about his experience, and that experience taught him something that was pushed to a level equal to the Bible. And what I see Rick Joyner doing is very similar. Only it's not his experiences per se, but his visions and the way God talks to him. That he pushes up to the level, I think, higher than the Bible. Because I have yet to hear him really do a very good study of anything in the Scriptures. But he will talk quite a bit about revelations he gets from God. And my conclusion to all this is those revelations and visions and dreams that he has, a multitude of them, are more important for his life than anything in the Scriptures. Now, they will say, I'm putting this in his mouth, I haven't heard him say this, but I can guarantee he's going to say, we are Bible believing. But it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to practice and live it. So he gets all these personal revelations from God, and I think that is the center of where he is teaching. He has a three-tiered theory, and this I got outside of what he was talking about. I got this online. But he has a three-tiered theory about how we get God's personal revelation, and everyone steps up to more and more solid, and the most solid of them all are visions. Now, I don't care what vision you get, if it doesn't surrender itself to this. You know what? Paul, the apostle, in Galatians, talks about going out and preaching, and while he's preaching, God calls him to go and surrender that gospel to the apostles in Jerusalem, Peter, James, and John, and those he calls those who seem to be somebodies. Whatsoever they were, it makes no difference to me. God accepts no man's person. But he surrendered his gospel to the apostles. And we should be surrendering our gospel to the Scriptures. But if we don't know what the Scriptures say, how do we know what to surrender? How do we know how to surrender? We don't have a clue. We'll just go ahead and jump on those visions and testimonies and stuff that we get, that we experience, that we feel. That's a bad direction to take. That is something that needs to be repented from. He has prophecies that are given to him from friends, and these likewise he puts up on the pedestal as, and I'm going to say in practice, more important than the Scriptures themselves. And one of his friends said, your church is extremely important. Oh my gosh, how many times has this misled people? You are important. You're going to be huge. I have an experience with that. When I was young in the charismatic movement, I had somebody prophesied over me, you're going to be a great prophet. Oh my gosh, that hit my ego hard. And I went through a period, several months of extreme pride. And it took a toll on me. And it was extremely humiliating the day I read Scripture that contradicted what she was saying. And I really felt God saying, you're nobody special. Not in those words, okay? But I wasn't going to be a big prophet. Dang it! I wanted to be a big prophet with lots and lots of people just thinking I was the greatest thing in two wheels. All right. His church will be one of 7 arcs. This guy has a dream and a vision, and it's assured because he saw this vision of Jesus, and he talked to Jesus. Oh, this is a good one. People talk with Jesus. This is not the first time I've heard this in this movement, but they talk to Jesus. Like he's right there, just like Moses. And they talk back and forth. Who was it who actually... one of these quacks basically talks to God, and God gets his opinion about things. Kenneth Copeland's friend, what's his name? I'll put it below right here. Jesse, good old Jesse. God talks to him, and he tells Jesus what to say or what to do in certain things because Jesus asks him for advice. All right, it gets wacky. God will send people to live in Heritage USA. That's by the way, where Joyner has this. He took over from Heritage USA. Is it Heritage USA? I'll put correction if I'm wrong on that. But in Heritage USA, it's this big old theme park that Jim Baker? Yeah, Jim Baker had. And he bought it with his wife, and once he went bankrupt and things went bad for him, he had to get rid of it and let it go. And now it's Rick Joyner's territory. And Rick Joyner is having people come and live in this community there. And he had a friend who prophesied over him and said this will be one of the 7 arcs through the great apocalyptic time we're about ready to face. And so he holds this is now truth. This is solid truth. Finally, he makes vague references to the end time apocalypse and his ark, at least as far as how his ark is going to be protecting and helping people through the end times. These things provide the spiritual basis of his thinking. As far as I can tell, I may change that up, probably will as I get to know him more and more. Let me go through that one last time. He whitewashes Christianized history. He whitewashes and Christianizes history of the United States. He basically talks a lot about war. I think he likes war. He likes studying war and stuff, but I don't find any kind of real in-depth study and understanding of war and what really took place. I could get the same kind of stuff watching movies. Anti-communist diatribes, very generally, he talks generally when he's talking about issues of today rather than specific. He's very negative about looking at world events. He definitely trusts and lets his support system be revelations he gets from God and prophecies that he gets from his friends. So those seem to override the Bible. I may change my mind on several of these as I learn more about him, but for now, that's where I'm going, and that's what I saw definitely in this message that I went through this morning. And finally, he has very vague reference to the end-time apocalypse. I'd like to know more about that. Is he post-millennial? I think he is, but I'd like to dig in more to find out what he's believing. Is he believing that we have this tremendous movement happening very soon where we have the manifest sons of God? That's another issue. I'll let you know as I find out these things. So there are those, and if you know already, throw me some breadcrumbs and I'll definitely check it out. All right, that's going to be it for today, and you guys have a great one. This is Ted. Bye.